welcome back to Boys and Ghouls Film Review. I'm your host, Sara Stephenson, and this is my co-host, Mike Stephenson.
Evening all.
And tonight we will be reviewing the movie, or television movie I should say, The Daughter of Darkness. Isn't that right, Mike?
Yeah, there was a 1990 American made-for-TV horror film. Now, do you want me to tell them who starred in it? Do you want to do that?
I'll do that for this time, Mike. And it stars, let me see, Anthony Perkins, you know, the guy from Psycho and a lot of other movies.
That's his main claim to fame. Yeah,
yes.
He was on the beach and a few other movies, but that was his main ones. Yeah.
Yes. And let me see, Mia. Sara, or
Mia Sara
is her name.
Yeah,
she plays our lead heroine in this movie too.
Yes, we won't tell. We all will be revealed as we talk about the plot.
And Jack Coleman.
Jack Coleman, yeah, he plays an embassy official who sort of helps Catherine in her quest. Yeah, that's a good word. Quest to find her father. But again, we will.
Dip into that movie
expand
shortly.
that a little bit later, yes.
Yes, and
wait a minute, there's one other person. There's a guy called Robert Reynolds playing the naughty guy. I wouldn't say he's an evil guy, but he's naughty guy. Head naughty guy.
Just,
Gregory.
The bad boy in the
The bad boy in the movie who is not to be trusted.
Mm-hmm. Yes, and the interesting thing about this movie is it's directed by Stuart Gordon, and I'll dip into his story.
Yeah, please
his
talk
film.
about Stuart Gordon.
Yes, I'll dip into his line of work in his filmography. He's directed Reanimator and Dolls, and he's also written Honey, I Shrunk the Kids.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And The Dentist.
I don't know that one.
Well, it's a really awesome horror movie.
Okay, we must have a look at that one.
Yes.
We'll put a note, must consider for a future podcast. I
quite.
like dentists. They're already scary enough as it is. But anyway.
So let's dip into the story, shall we?
Oh, we shall. Let us.
Yes, so Mia, who plays Catherine
Thatcher,
she's on a quest to find her father, her last living relative, because her mother passed away recently.
Yeah, it actually starts off with the funeral of a mother, and she gets a funny feeling. Oh, actually, no. It starts off as a dream about her mother's funeral, because she's already on a plane going to look for a father who supposedly lives in Romania. Is it Romania? It's supposed to be based in
Romania.
Yeah, even though the filming is all done in Hungary. But yeah, she's on her way to Romania and she's dreaming about the funeral. But there's a bit of a twist. She sees a shadowy figure and there's some things in there which shouldn't be there.
Yeah.
And it reflects on the rest of the movie.
Yeah, it plays an interesting part and I won't tell it just yet. So anyway, she wakes up from this nightmare of sorts and she arrives in Romania and she meets Max, a driver who drives who drives her to a hotel, tells her stories about the war and gosh knows what else.
And how things have changed and whatever.
Yes,
as one would, the tour guide.
In this story, it indicates that the what's going on in Romania is not going so well.
Yeah, 20 years prior to that, I think there had a bit of a revolution happening back in the 60s. And this is supposed to be in the 80s, and they still don't trust Westerners. We're still a bit like a lot of European countries. They don't like Western people coming in there, and they've still got their own military-based sort of police states, and they don't trust anybody. They're checking people on the streets and giving them a hard time. And I can understand where they're coming from.
Catherine books in. She still has a few more nightmares before we get into our story. Like she keeps seeing a silhouette figure in a cloak, and has a very not so detailed face. Like
you can't see his face really good.
But she suspects
in the early days.
But she suspects it's her father, which means it could symbolize the fact she's never met him. So it's a very big. She doesn't know him enough. Unknown person. It's just like if you met someone. You wanted to meet someone and you don't know nothing about him.
Exactly. It's not like if you're an orphan not often, you've been handed up for adoption when you're first born, and you go looking for your parents 20 or 30 years later because you find out, I'm adopted. Well, let's go and find mum and dad and my real ones and see why they got rid of me and stuff. Similar, but not quite the same. But yeah, it'd be a big shock when you actually meet them.
Yeah. So let me see. Shall we continue?
Oh, we shall. Anyway, she gets into the motel.
She stays in the motel, has another nightmare, and where she sees some sort of locations that are familiar to her much later and play a very big part to this movie too.
The cemetery,
Again,
was it?
yeah, like the cemetery and around what was Romania mostly.
Romania, well, there, it's supposed to be in Bucharest, but it's actually in Budapest. But they did it for, obviously they couldn't get decent shots or filming in that area, so they used a different country. So it happens all the time.
It's a shocker.
They often use Prague when they're doing Old London, for like in the Leave the Extraordinary Gentleman, when they did Old London, that was actually in Prague. In Europe, so they try to get the old buildings, and there's no old buildings in London anymore.
True.
So they had to go somewhere else for it. So
exactly.
never let the truth get in the way of a good story. Hey, folks.
Yeah. So, Catherine goes to the embassy and asks a guy there to give her some background into her father's,
try tracing.
Try to trace him.
And this is quite funny. Now, this is a horror movie. It's got vampirism. And this guy who works for the embassy, his name's Devlin. Yeah. Oh, come on. Couldn't they? What's wrong with Smith or Jones or something or other? Devlin.
What about Fletcher? It's like Margaret Fletcher.
Anthony Perkins played Anton, that's his alias, or Prince Constantine Cypriot.
Dad, don't dig into
No, it's okay. Mia had a name as Catherine Thatcher. Robert Reynolds played Grigori. And this guy, Jack Coleman's supposed to be a good guy. It's called Devlin. Hello.
Yes. Anyway, before Mike ruins the story for all of us, just before our podcast even begins. So anyway, as we're still going, he tries to tell her what he knows, but doesn't know. He keeps saying he gets a lot of letters, and no doubt he's used to these letters all the time, and.
He wasn't terribly interested in
knowing.
Yeah,
and Catherine doesn't want to take a no.
No. She was determined to find her father or what happened to her father. Yeah.
So she
she went off on her own little quest.
Yes.
Stuff you guy at the embassy who don't want to help me, I'm going to do my own thing.
Yes.
And that takes it down to the old quarter in the town or city.
Yeah.
Where she meets. Da-da-da-da.
Yes. She meets Gory at this nightclub of.
Yeah, he's not too bad looking, ladies.
Yeah, boys, girls mothers lock up your daughters, whatever.
Yeah, so he's a good-looking European guy. I don't know if he's really European. His name's Robert Reynolds. I can't find anything on the internet about him. So he could be just a stage actor who did the movie. I've got no idea what he is or where he was. Hey, I know. He's probably a vampire, a real one, and that's why there's nothing on the internet. That explains a lot.
Yes. So anyway, he's pretty much an eye candy.
He is. He's a good-looking guy.
Yes, and pretty much the bad boy.
That nice European sort of
sweet,
naughty boy, sort of good-looking fellow that girls would probably like. I mean, I don't know because I'm not attracted to men, but if he looks rather good, and you told me he's a hubba, so I'm only going by what you told me.
Yeah, I think it's the eyes that really throw
and the
you
way
in.
he talks. They talk in very good English with an accent, and that's I suppose it's sort of part of their charm.
Yeah, I love a bit of a man with an accent.
What's the matter for you, hey?
Maybe not so much like that.
No, okay.
Not a lot.
That
just
didn't work. Okay.
Anyway, as I was saying.
Carry on.
As I was saying, she shows him the photo of her dad, and he's a little surprised by when she mentions Paul
Alessandri.
Like he's a little surprised, like that name strikes a hidden.
He knows him.
Whatever.
Yeah, he knows him because they are, as the story unfolds, part of the same group.
Yes. So there's a lot of head tilts and a lot of eyes bulging in these scenes.
So everyone's saying, "Go home, none of your business. It is not a place for you, little girl. And because everyone's trying to protect her from the truth,
Yeah.
and actually things start to change
Yeah.
halfway through the movie, doesn't
Yeah.
it?
Fortunately, Gory was kind enough to engage an invitation of hanging out with her.
Hey, you want to hang in on it too, probably. No.
So, as
Sorry, who
this-
said that? No,
yeah,
no.
so they kind of
She was a good-looking lady.
yeah. So they kind of scheduled a date, and she goes off and continues her search, and she finds a place that's familiar from a dream.
Yeah, interesting that. Hey, I've
Yes.
had dreams like that too.
Yeah, deja vu, whatever.
When we went to, remember that time we went to Italy and Greece?
Yes.
I'd been there with Mum, but some of the places you and I went, Mum and I didn't go, and I could find my way through the streets without a map. And it's just a little bit of a gut feeling where I am. So yeah, sometimes I think deja vu actually works, and maybe things get told to you in dreams. Maybe. I don't know. I've always wondered.
So, anyway, she sees some statues there, and she then figures out that there's sort of a what do they call it, what do you call it, the fire the place
A
she was-
glass blowing
the
works.
glass blowing
Yeah.
place she was looking for, because her dad used to work as a fire.
Well, we don't
you
know
know,
what he used to
supposedly.
work at, but she dreamt about the place,
Yeah,
and
and-
she went and found it.
Yeah, and just so you guys know,
Yeah.
in her dream, she sees a dragon sign on it.
It's the same as the one she's wearing around her neck on as a not a, what do you call it? Not a cameo. You know,
I think it's a family crest.
Yeah, a family crest on a pendant around her neck.
Yes,
Yeah. Which
it's-
a mother
it's-
gave to her.
it's
And
pretty
that was in
much-
glass too, wasn't it?
Yeah, it's made of glass.
He
which
made it.
He may have made it. Yeah, she said much later in the story that it was a gift from her
Yeah,
father
it doesn't
to
say
his
made
mother.
it. Like I can give you a saxophone for your birthday. Doesn't mean it made it.
But I like to think he did it after all his time with the fire. I don't know.
He may have, but he's
Anyway.
dabbling a fire anyway.
Yeah, so
yeah.
she meets this man, and he's played by Anthony Perkins.
And actually, Anthony Perkins, I know him from lots of different movies. I've got a vast collection of movies, but he's played that haunted role in Psycho. He's been in 4 movies. You know that haunted look he gets when he's getting confused and stuff. He's a bit like that in this movie. You see the evil coming out, and he's torn between doing one thing or another. And that sort of comes out in this role too, I think.
Yeah,
But
that's
he's a bit
true.
more mature here.
And not to
yeah.
mention, he has done over the years, probably just after Psycho, he probably has done a lot of Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde type roles.
Has he? Has he?
Well, he did even a spin-off of Dr. Jekyll
I didn't know that,
too, which kind of fits in with the whole two
Weird.
personalities fighting with
He does that well. He plays
with
a good guy,
in one body.
a twisted bad guy, mentally deranged, good versus evil in his head. Yeah, he does it quite well.
Yeah.
Actually, I think he said, you know, that biodrama we saw of Hitchcock, and the actor there was trying to do the Anthony Perkins sort of bit. He said he's sick of being put in roles like the love roles,
the
relationship roles. He wanted to get into different sort of movies because he didn't feel comfortable doing it. He wanted to do something meaty, interesting, instead of I'm in love with this pretty girl. Kissy, hug. No, he wants something more substantial where he can actually act.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he did. Yeah, that's all he did.
Yeah, and this kind of made way for a number of slasher or thriller or mystery movies that have built his career over the years. Or not really built.
He always had played that sinister role, and I think he does it well.
Yeah, that's probably what the studio thinks. So going
He can't
back,
do any more now,
so
he's dead
going
now.
back to the story,
He's a real vampire now.
she comes to Anthony Perkins. I don't know his character's name in this one.
Well, Anthony Perkins is called Anton.
Yeah,
That's
Anton.
one of his aliases.
Yes.
And that's his current alias.
Yeah.
Her dead father is Paul Alessandri, but his real name is Prince Constantine Cypriot. Oh, come on. It gets very confusing, doesn't it, folks?
No, it doesn't, guys. So anyway, as I was saying in the story, he tells her that her dad was struck by a car.
Which was sort of true.
Yeah.
Ish.
Yeah, and she is a little surprised, meaning she, now that she found out that her dad is, dead. Now she wants to find out more about him. Try to find out, does he have any other extended family?
Yeah, and he was the last of his family line.
Yeah, she even goes to the
Shame.
blood bank course
Well, they went to the
hospital
Yeah.
to find out any
Medical
more
records.
medical records. And as it turns out, when they look through them, it comes off very.
The records were incomplete.
Yeah,
They just said he got hit by a car and was buried. That's about pretty. No blood cultures. There's no nothing.
yeah. There is even a grave, obviously, and headstone.
And saying Paul Alessandri died, what did it, 1966 or something?
Yeah, 1966 it said on the grave.
1966. And this is supposed to be based in about 1986 or something rather. Yeah, 20 odd years. Well,
Yeah,
there
just
you go
says.
then.
As I said before, she was carrying around a photo of her father, and it's not a very clear shot of it,
Well,
but it
I
seems to.
recognise Anthony
Yeah,
Perkins straight
and
away.
it seems that it definitely is Anthony Perkins in the photo. Honestly.
Yeah, but when she met this Anton guy, who looked remarkably like a father, she said, "Well, he should be about 70 years old now." And obviously, Anthony Perkins only about 45 or something or other. So it couldn't be him. Otherwise, he got a fantastic plastic surgeon.
Yes.
Plastic surgeon, yeah,
So-
doing his work for and great makeup. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So, as the story goes, she tries to put the key pieces together. She even goes back to Anton, and he tells her a little bit more about
Daddy.
her dad, and about how that the secret police who are trying to look for him. I keep thinking maybe the secret police might be. There's more to that story.
Well, he spun a story to her that he was a good guy, I think, helping people get out of the country or something or other, and the secret police didn't want him to do that, and they were after him, but maybe the secret police didn't know he was really a vampire anyway, so... Well, he's a vampire. It's a vampire movie. He's not a Boy Scout, okay? It's not big looks. And yeah, so...
I just want to get to...
And they made him disappear, because obviously, another point too, vampires don't age. They got to disappear sometimes and do a re-emergence under a different alias anyway.
True.
Because they can't be like Cliff Richard's never aging, you know.
Yeah, so
he must be
anyway,
vampire. No.
there was even a moment in the scene when they were just walking along on the street, and he remarked, did her mother ever remarry? And she says, no, he never remarried. Her mother felt that maybe she couldn't find anyone much more better than her and her husband.
Yeah, and he felt rather self-satisfied. Okay, so she thought I was a great lover.
Like that expression.
Yeah, that look on his face, but she didn't see it because she was looking the other direction. But he felt really smug about it.
Yeah.
Well, hey, I'm really good. If you got it, you got it. Whatever.
Yeah, so he was a bit kind of confident in that scene.
He did. He's very happy.
Yes.
They still didn't tell her that he was daddy. Kept saying, no, I knew your father.
Yeah, he even remarked in the scene that she even mentioned about the nightmares she's been having, and he says that gypsies believed that nightmares are a form of messages.
Yeah, warnings and other good things.
Things to come, all that stuff, future events that might unfold.
Yeah, that sort of stuff.
Or stuff like that, predictions, stuff like that.
Sorry.
Yeah, kind of relevant to the story when you think about it.
Yeah. But anyway. So, the plot thickens.
Yeah, so one night when she's with Gregory on a date, they're just sitting eating, and she's talking about her father still.
In a nice restaurant.
Yes, even though Gregory doesn't want to talk about that.
He doesn't want to talk about things like that.
Although
he does not believe in vampires. What a hypocrite! No,
yeah, and when a lady comes along to their table, giving her a flower, she notices the pendant on her neck and says, Nosferatu, all that stuff in vampires.
It doesn't say Nosferatu. It says something rather Cypriot, and that was the family line. And the peasantry there believed that group of people up in that castle, the Cypriots, were all vampires. And Anthony Perkins is the last living one, which is her daddy.
Yes. So she later on goes to, well, actually, not later that very night, she gets abducted by the same secret police thugs, and they want to find out for them where Paul is
Well,
too.
yeah, it was also why is he looking, and what he got to do with this Paul Alexander, because they must have had a file on him.
Yeah.
Where the hospital didn't have too much record.
Yeah,
the
they're
police
probably
did.
just as curious of why somehow he's vanished off the face of the
Yeah,
earth.
because they were looking for him, and all of a sudden, 20 years later, she's looking
Yeah.
for him. How the hell did they find out?
Yeah.
And that brings me another question.
What's that?
Right, first thing, they picked her up coming outside the club,
Yes.
right? And they went straight to the cemetery. A couple of minutes later, the guy from them shows up.
Yeah.
Who the hell told anybody, especially him, that she'd been spirited away by the secret police?
Oh, good question. That.
Aha!
But makes for a good movie.
He's only there about 5 minutes after she got there. Just when the interrogation's going to start, he
Yeah.
shows up. Who told him?
Gosh knows. But I mean, he might have got wind of it. I mean, he's working at the embassy. He's working for government officials, so the word gets around.
That quickly?
Maybe not.
I can't make a telephone call that fast.
Yeah, well, throughout this movie, we do see a lot of people stalking and watching Catherine really closely.
Some of them are vampires.
And
they had a vested interest in her.
yes, true,
Yeah.
true. And
Lunch?
some
No,
of them are servants to the vampires.
Yes, we won't go into the other guy, but
Yes.
we'll mention him later. Yeah,
Yes,
yeah,
and
okay.
who knows? Maybe some of the secret police have been,
Well, they could have been keeping an eye on the vampire crowd.
Yeah, or maybe they were keeping an eye on Catherine too, because they're just as curious about why.
Why is she there? That's a great eternal question. The meaning of life. Why am I here? Why am I doing a podcast? I really don't know. No, but I know you
So-
people really enjoy it, don't you?
Shut up.
No, sorry.
So anyway, as was saying, they soon dig up the remains of Paul, and it turns out it was a remains of a dead woman.
So her father was a woman. Now that was one hell of a secret, wasn't it?
No.
Wrong body. Okay.
Yes.
Well.
So they may have known this for a long time and kept it under wraps. And when they found out that Catherine might be a related to him, they thought maybe she may know something.
Where is Daddy? We want him.
Yes.
Aha.
Aha. Yes, who knows? Maybe they may know a little bit about the vampires. I don't know either.
Anyway, after the graveyard scene.
Yeah, next morning we find out that Catherine goes to the Cyprian's castle or whatever.
Yeah, Cyprian Castle, which is now a museum, and she's going there and
Yeah,
having a walk around, like doing the tourist thing as one would when you go to Europe.
Yes, and she soon sees a statue there that looks really similar to one of her dreams.
And the face is very similar to Anton.
What's that tell you, guys?
I mean, obviously, it's an old weathered statue, a couple of cracks in it, but it did remarkably look like Anthony Perkins' features, and I think that started her thinking, oh, okay,
Yeah, so
right,
she
maybe."
goes back to the glass blowing place, and she finds it abandoned.
Yeah,
for
like
some
it hasn't
reason.
been used for years. Now that was interesting. That was a quick
Yeah.
makeover, wasn't it?
Yeah, like somehow all this time that she was there,
Was it a dream?
Was it a dream, or was it or in her head?
You'll never know.
So she ends up going back to Grigori and tries to get her head together, but fortunately, with him, it's not going to be an option.
No, because then we start to find what Grigori's true colours are.
Yes,
He
is.
Well, okay, let's face it. We won't talk about the birds and the bees here too much, but the point is, it goes further than that.
Yeah, they
Because-
go to his den. Hint, hint. Nudge, nudge.
Say
or
no more.
Say no more. They begin to get down to nitty gritty, whatever.
Yeah, playing the horizontal mumbo.
Yes, or whatever. So but when they were getting down to removing each other's clothing, she sees a scar on his waist.
Which you dreamt about the day before. Or
Yes.
something. Yeah,
Yes. Previously.
And then that scared her off.
And the rest of the vampires suddenly appear out of nowhere.
And pretty much encouraging her to have sex with him because they want her bloodline.
Yes.
Now, this is where the plot... do you want me to explain this bit a bit?
No, I think I like to explore the lair of the
no,
vampire thing,
well-
because when she walks down the hallway, she sees that it looks dead, similar to more of her dream.
Yeah, yeah.
And there's statues and probably some catacomb stuff there.
Yeah, yeah,
And she
yeah.
soon finds
A bit like a mausoleum, come castle, come hallway. Just a very surrealistic sort of look to it, I thought.
Yeah,
But very nice.
a lot like in her dream she's been having.
Yeah.
And soon she discovers the some victims of the vampires who have been kept alive,
So they can suck some
so
blood
they
out
can
of them.
suck the blood drain out of them.
Yeah, well, yeah. Now, can I explain the bloodline of her?
Yes,
A bit? Yeah.
go ahead.
Okay. The story behind the story is Anthony Perkins had sex with a lady he fell in love with. Now, he's a vampire, an undead, and the lady he fell in love with was a normal human being. Now, a vampire's not supposed to be able to
Conceive
procreate,
kids.
conceive kids, whatever, with a human being. But something happened. He did, she did, and this young lady, Catherine, is his daughter. Now,
Yeah, and this
wait a minute. The other vampires believe that if their new appointed leader, because they've been overthrowing Anthony Perkins, her dad, as a leader, because they think he's thinking more in the old ways, not the modern ways. This young guy, Gregory, wants to have sex with her because they think the new bloodline will create daywalkers so they can get strong again and attack their enemies in the daytime instead of lying in coffins all day waiting for someone to stake them through the heart. Ta-da! Did that cover it?
Yes.
Okay, right.
So, as we were saying, when they were getting down to the nitty-gritty, the vampires appear. She runs down the hallway, sees the victims. They are about to, the vampires attack her, and they try to force gang rape on her.
Well, not a gang raid. Just
not gang raid.
They weren't all
They
gang have a go.
were all pinning her down.
So Gregory can do the deed.
Yeah, but luckily for us, Paul comes to her rescue, and dear old Daddy is revealed all along. As you got.
But you've met your father before, so all was totally revealed
and
then.
Of course, all the vampires, as we were discussing just now, the vampires never imagined that a vampire would procreate with another human.
Yeah, no one believed it, but she's living
proof. They probably never even tried, maybe.
Well, they can't because they're dead. They don't have a seed.
True. So.
But for something happened. Yeah. Remember in Warm Bodies how the dead guy started to come back to life?
Yeah.
Because they started to feel something, love and tenderness, and they got their bodies start to regenerate. Maybe something like that happened within him. He got genuine love for somebody, and maybe that warm spark got into him and made him able to do such.
Yeah, well, I never read
such a thing. I don't know. It's a grey area, but it's one. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, as the story goes, she gets tied down and tied into the other room.
They put her in a pantry with the other ones.
Yes.
What is a pantry? It's like a larder. Yeah.
Yes. And they decide and they decide to discuss it with Paul about, or now we figured him out as Prince Constantine now.
Well, yeah, we'll change the name to Prince Constantine now because his real name. Okay?
Yes. So they begin to discuss it, and Gregory thinks this is a great opportunity. They can make more daywalkers and all that stuff, and all the other vampires agree with him, and Constantine is the only one who doesn't think this is good.
This is an overthrow of the government, really.
Yeah.
You're down. The new reign is going to be led by Gregory, and we're going to do it his way, and the new modern way and your old ways aren't going to work anymore, so go away.
Him, all that stuff.
Yeah, you do as we tell you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's awesome, very nice.
Yeah.
Not a great retirement plan,
Yeah, and just so you know, Gregory tries to seduce Catherine in the scene, but she kind of rejects him at first, and then he says he's going to take her whether she likes it or not.
Tonight, one way or the other, tonight I'm going to have you willingly or unwillingly.
Meaning a rape, maybe.
Either with your consent or without, but it's happening tonight.
Yeah, meaning it's a no-win deal.
Yeah. No, not for her anyway.
No, not in the slightest.
For him it is, okay, but not for her, no.
Nope. So anyway, while everyone is sleeping or getting ready for bed, or not really getting ready for bed, while they weren't looking, Prince Constantine tries to get his daughter away from them and tries to go back to her hotel so she can leave.
Yeah, he does. And gets her a ticket for the aeroplane.
Yes, and
and she gets off the air. Oh, well, Mr. Devlin comes in about that same time, and he takes her to the airport.
Yes.
And everyone's going,
Before,
happy, joy. She's leaving Romania to go home to America. All the problems are gone.
Yeah. Before that,
sorry.
I want to go back to Anthony and
digressing.
Constantine and Catherine for a bit. When they're at the hotel, he's a little pleased to get his daughter away from them, and he asks her before we could work out an answer, that whether or not Catherine's mother ever talked about him, and we don't even get a good answer from because Devlin,
Devlin showed up. Yeah.
shows up, and I like to think that her mother did talk about him and probably thought the world of him.
Yeah, and like I said, she was only sent away to protect her from being chewed up.
Yeah, and he even mentioned
Sucked dry.
earlier on that he didn't want her to risk her life, and
She probably knew who he was.
I think she did, and she didn't tell Catherine or anyone.
No,
who would believe her?
Well, exactly right. Hey, guess what? Your grandpa's a werewolf. No, that doesn't really happen, is it?
Yeah, and he did say, Prince Constantine did say that he was tempted to turn her, so to avoid the other vampires from putting claim on her or taking claim on her, but that didn't happen. But he ended up sending her away.
They went back home to America.
Yes. So anyway, now we can go back to Devlin.
They're at the airport now. Mr. Devlin and her having
and of course Devlin doesn't
deeply
believe.
meaningful.
Yeah.
He's sick of her, and she's sick of him. And then they softened a little bit, and he said he's sorry for being such a turd. And, and then she said, and she understood where he's coming from, and they sort of pardoned on some nice friendly terms, and she gets on the airplane. Meanwhile, back at the ranch where the vampires were, they're torturing dear old Dad.
Well, actually, at first they tell him, guess what? You have been sentenced for taking away our only means of regenerating to another generation.
You're a traitor.
And you're a traitor. So we're sentencing you for betraying your own kind, for
slow agonizing death by sunlight.
Yes.
And while he's laying there, he starts to feel pain, and she feels the pain because she's linked by his blood.
I think that even Diggory says to him that while that Catherine is safely away, he thinks that this will imply getting her to come back.
Yeah.
Because by feeling his pain. Like, a lot like if you look at Empire Strikes Back, when Han Solo is being slowly tortured, his pain kind of sort of gets messaged to Luke Skywalker. While you guys may be thinking, oh, I hate Empire Strikes Back because it's so boring. This was really a relative scene of why Luke all suddenly hears their pain.
You would have thought Chewbacca would have felt something. That was his dog.
Woof.
But anyway.
So anyway, Catherine hears the pain and she jumps off the plane.
Runs off. Don't just jump off the plane. That implies the plane's already taken off and she didn't do the parachute. No, she ran off the plane before it took off.
Yes.
Didn't jump off anything.
Yes. So she
like a fly hitting your windscreen.
Yeah. So she heads back to the
lair of the
vampire and sees her dad chained up and is about to be burnt to death by the sun.
Or the daughter. Now. No, okay, but where does the taxi driver come in? Does she go and find him now?
Well, she finds DeVille, whatever. Dale, whatever his name is.
Mr. Devlin.
Devlin appears, and she tells him about the vampire, and her dad's going to be roasted.
Oh, that's right, yeah.
And
I believe you, he said.
I believe you. And then he calls the embassy and tells them, I'm going to make sure she gets on the plane and all that stuff.
He's just saying that to get her on side so she wouldn't run away.
But when she hears this conversation, she just dashes off and finds Max to help her.
Yeah, that's right, Max. Yeah, good old Max, a taxi driver, who is a very nice man.
Well, so we think.
I can't remember his name at the moment, but he's been in a lot of movies and TV shows, probably in Europe, I don't know, but... I haven't seen him before, but he plays a good role. But I'm digressing.
So anyway, they help her, and goes back to the place where the vampire's den is. They walk into the and unchain the gate doors and stuff, which were locked secure with
wait a minute. They go in there with kerosene and stuff.
yeah, and
They're
gasoline.
going to burn them out.
Yeah.
Yeah, Stake for the Heart's good, but you got to go one by one. But to burn them, it's a lot faster.
Yeah, and if you hear a vampire scream with a stake in them,
It's working smart, you know.
Yeah. Think of it as, just remember there's more than one vampire sleeping there.
Oh, there's probably a dozen or so there. 20
Yes.
maybe, or whatever.
Yes.
Yeah.
So she heads in there. Meanwhile,
She
a lady
finds
that
Daddy.
works,
Oh, yeah.
who worked at the hospital we talked about earlier, she is already.
She's been turned.
Yes, she goes to Diggory, who's actually her lover when I think about this movie, and tells him, guess what, that Catherine has returned, and she's saying, get ready for her, she's going to come, all that stuff, but he's already one step ahead of everyone as per usual.
I said, I knew she'd come back, because he planned it that way.
Yes, and
Aha.
and anyway, so while Catherine is trying to find her father, she soon finds him, and then she finds out that Max turns out to be a double
Yeah, Max
agent.
the taxi driver.
Meaning-
he's been working for the vampires all along. You wouldn't have thought so, would you?
Yeah, meaning he's probably been taxi driving and at the same time working for them, probably getting new, fresh victims for them to feed on.
And doing pizza bring-ins, takeouts,
Yes,
get
exactly
pizzas
so.
and stuff and whatever.
Whatever,
Yeah,
yes.
McDonald's,
Yeah, in return for
Can't
his
go out all the time.
his help, they will give him eternal life, all that stuff.
Well, they better hurry up. He's old now. He's about 70.
Yeah, something.
Well, when are you going to give it to him after he dies? Bit late.
I don't know.
And
There's like a lot of servants in this one, and most of them don't look like they're gonna be looking at vampires, eventually.
They won't achieve vampire status. No. Max didn't.
So anyway, Max tells her that we'll wait for these vampires to wake up, and then the trouble starts to begin.
Yeah.
But luckily for us,
Wakey.
Devon tracks down where Catherine has gone to, and soon
He still doesn't quite believe that they're vampires
and
involved, but he soon does.
Yeah, and soon heads into the vampire's den, and he soon hits Max over the head with a whatever.
Yeah.
And
then he sees Daddy on the ground, half charred and burnt by the sunlight. He starts to think, maybe there's a bit of truth behind what's going on here.
He's like, oh my gosh.
Maybe she's telling the truth.
Yes. So while Max is passed out, they're about to escape and make sure that the whole place is set ablaze.
Yeah, so they're throwing kerosene and stuff like the place and
lighting the
setting fire to it.
And setting a match on fire, and lighting it.
Once they cooked, why don't those taste like chicken?
Gosh knows.
Interesting concept, isn't it? Yeah, you think a vampire.
I would think of it.
Char grilled. No, whatever.
Yeah, maybe not with chicken. It could be.
Well,
Could be stick bone.
Well, whatever. A rack of human. No, whatever.
Yes.
Okay.
So anyway, the vampires start waking up and they smell the smoke, and slowly they all begin to roast.
Yeah.
And Gory notices the smell. He then wakes up and he tries to save the rest of his friends, but they die in the most horriblest ways.
Shame.
Well, not the horriblest way. We only see them pop out. Some of them pop out their coffins
and they're all on fire and stuff, and they're not real. And some are running around. They catch on fire in the meantime, and it's really good.
Yes, true. Yes, and as this progresses, the lady that helped him at the hospital, she's already turned, and she starts chasing down Catherine and everybody. And she is about to strangle Catherine, but luckily Catherine is
she got her daddy's blood. He said, "Use your blood," and her strength starts to increase, and she's stronger than the vampire lady.
Yeah, and soon enough they sake the poor thing. So technically, she's been a vampire. That girl's been a vampire for like a few hours.
Yeah, a few hours, and the little girl's never been a vampire, but she's got vampire blood in her. A bit like the coronavirus. No, we won't go there. No,
don't go there. It's not really.
No.
It's not right to.
She's a carrier. No.
Yeah. So anyway, so Catherine and her father and her government guy,
Mr. Devlin.
they escape through the outside and they lock the place up. but just before they feel like they're safely away, guess who comes along?
Grigori smashes away through a bit of a hole in the wall.
Well, actually, before he smashes
right.
his head through the wall, he tries clawing at her through the gate there, and tries to grab for Catherine, yelling, "I'm never gonna let you go," all that stuff.
And guess what?
He,
He let it go. The roof caved on him just then. But,
yes,
he
and
fell over. And then they got
yeah.
away. And then...
yeah, and Catherine is tearfully wishing that her dad wasn't gonna die shortly, feeling a bit tears, watery eyes, and all that stuff, leaky eyes.
And then a few minutes later, Grigori comes through the wall.
Yeah, he breaks through the wall like.
And he's a bit burnt. He's a bit charred by now. His hair's gone. His clothes a bit moth-eaten. His skin's a bit...
and he's like...
He definitely needs a moisturiser.
Yeah, he kind of tells Catherine that all he wants to do is love her and all that
And
stuff.
make a baby with her. Not looking like that.
Yeah, and she says, not in this lifetime, Buster.
He said,
and
he says maybe in the next lifetime.
yeah, and he throws her onto the ground. He's about to climb on top of her, even though his dick is probably all shriveled.
A bit too much information there, but
But
okay.
that's how I see it. If he's burnt...
His manhood may have already gone.
Yes, he
Anyway,
could be
but
burnt.
Daddy gets up.
Yes.
He gets his last remaining bit of strength.
He fights Grigori and throws him back into the fire.
He walks in, he pushes him in, and he walks in with him to push him to make sure he stays there. So Daddy and Grigori both become crispy critters.
Along with all the other vampires.
And all the other ones. I wonder if they had fire insurance.
Well, beats me.
Well,
Just so you guys know, the victims of the vampires, they escaped too.
Oh yeah, the ones who have been kept for
Drinking
nibblies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They get out and they're safely away from them. Hopefully, they might go to the hospital and get a bit of extra blood in order to avoid blood loss.
Well, you like to think so. Yeah. But anyway, so what happens then?
Well, Catherine returns to the castle, and she's has her arm in a sling of sorts.
She broke her arm during the fracas
Yeah.
outside the vampire lair, and Mr. Devlin broke his leg and got a sore neck, didn't he?
Yes. So we're cutting ahead again.
Okay.
So Catherine approaches her dad's statue, and somehow it comes to life, and she says her final farewell to her dad.
And he smiles, that the benign smile as a father would to a daughter. I love you, my child. That sort of thing, you know.
Yes.
And then he turns back into a statue, obviously. And
Yeah.
because he is a statue, he's made of concrete or stone or something.
Whatever.
Rather,
So soon enough, Devlin appears, and he says, "Your father was a remarkable man." All that stuff.
that sort of stuff. And they're all friends and happy and smiling.
Yeah, and Catherine remarks that she has to head back to America because her kids she's a school teacher.
And but she's training kids in what, baseball or something, football or basketball or some sporting thing anyway. She has to be back for their football game or something.
Yeah,
or
and
sporting
she
fixture,
offers to give him some tickets,
free tickets to come over. You know,
and
lovely.
while he's remarking that all he thought about was becoming.
Well, before he met her, he's more worried about his political endeavours and being part of the embassy and make career building or whatever. And ever since she's come on the scene, that's the last thing on his mind.
Yeah, meaning he thinks about her. And before we get into the nitty gritty, as per usual, at first we see them about to move in for a kiss, but they're mostly in pain because both of them are injured.
He got a neck brace on, his legs in the cast, and she got an arm in a sling, and they go in for the kill, and they lose their balance and fall over onto the ground, but out of camera, out of frame,
funny.
and you go, okay, that's a good ending.
And then we fade out.
And do a fade out, and the credits happen, and you think, well, maybe they're going to have a relationship and everything
That or they've
else.
been stuck on the ground for a few hours.
Can someone help me up, please? And or got another broken arm. Anyway, but that's how it rolled out. So now let's get into technical, good groovy bits. Now, I think we said something like it was supposed to be based in Romania, but it was actually filmed in
Budapest.
It's actually, I think it was supposed to be in Bucharest in Romania, but they made it in Budapest in
Maybe,
Hungary, which I think are next door to each other. I think I didn't look at a map, but I think they border each other, or pretty close to it.
I'm not sure.
But
So,
but they did the streets look really good for that European rough sort of thing, like it's been through wars and stuff, and not bomb sort of thing, but you look really bad and rotten and decaying, and and they showed a lot of the bad elements of the the country, which really built up the atmosphere.
I think so.
Yeah,
It did
Yeah.
seem like a third, well, not so
not a
third.
third world country, but like it's been seen better days.
It's seen better
Yeah.
days, is what I mean.
It's like its economy's in decline and that sort of stuff,
Yeah.
and that was I think they're trying to pass it over, and it looked the part. It certainly did. I
Yeah.
had a good feel for it. And the guy who played Grigori. Now, Robert Reynolds. That doesn't sound like a European name, but if he put on a European type accent, I think he did pretty good. Again, I can't find him anywhere on the internet. So if anybody knows who the hell he is, and if he's done any stage work or something, or it would be good to know, because there's no links for him anywhere.
Yeah,
And he wasn't a bad actor. He carried it quite nicely.
Yeah, agreed. I thought Sara was pretty interesting as the heroine in the story.
Yeah, little femme fatale. Oh,
Yeah,
look at me,
well,
I'm
I
cute
do
and
like
nice
her
and
in.
sweet.
I've seen her
Yeah.
in the movie Legend. She plays a princess in that one.
That's right. She was in Legend with
But-
Tom Cruise.
Yes,
yeah,
and
yeah, yeah.
I do think she
I
looks.
thought I recognised
I think
her.
she
Yeah,
looks
yeah.
better in that one. In this one, she's well. I won't say she's ordinary, but
No,
but
she's
she
a-
does suit the whole damsel in distress act.
She did, yeah. She got a little. Well, okay, I'm not going to go into a full description, but she's small. She's not small like a midget, but she's a small stature, thin, gentle, frail. I wouldn't say frail, but she's not. Doesn't look like a Amazon warrior princess. She looks like somebody who needs a bit of help. But remarkably, she doesn't need that much help, because she's a feisty little critter and goes in there. So I'm going to do it by myself if you don't help me anyway.
Yeah.
And she does really. So she's that sort of half bit. I could do with some help, and I'm cute, but I'll do it by myself if you don't help me. And I think this girl power bit was really good.
Yes, I agree.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, as it was going, the all the time she wears the
The medallion?
medallion thing around her neck all the
It
time.
looks like a dragon somewhere.
Yeah, something like a lot of Vlad the Impaler type.
Yeah, something like that.
Something like
yeah,
that.
yeah.
I mean, when you think of vampires and dragons, you think right away of Dracula.
Well, Dracula's Draco, and that refers to dragon, the cult of the dragon and everything. So that would actually come into play in a lot of those mythology things anyway.
True. It kind of fits into that.
Dracul and that sort of stuff, yeah. Well, you look, even Harry Potter. That little, the nice little guy. Draco, the little blonde guy.
Draco.
And that was referring to the dragon.
True.
Yeah, it was.
A throwaway
Well,
story.
yeah,
Stuff.
it crops the name dragon. So yeah, Draco, dragon, so it's so any European culture, a lot of dragon sort of culture, but I think that even that the Chinese, they got dragon culture stuff in there as well. So
it does sneak in.
and so I don't know where it actually comes from. So it would have had to start somewhere. Some idea of the cult of the dragon, whether they refer. So you wouldn't have had dinosaurs hanging around when human beings were there. So but was there a large dragon-like lizard, like a Komodo dragon, which is in one country somewhere? That's a really big lizard. And now, was there some sort of critter back then, say 4, 5, 6, 7, 800 years ago, which might have still been hanging around, and all the mythology came from there, or maybe 1,000 years ago, or 2,000 years ago? Because remember when we went to Rome, they talked about griffins, had pictures of them. Now I thought griffins were mythological creatures, just made for stories, but a griffin was something like a flying cat.
Wow.
Yeah, like a flying cat. It was large like a cat, but had wings. But they were only in that general area, and they killed them off because they kept attacking people and cattle and stuff, different things. So in the end, they killed them all off. So dragons might have existed in some form, but not like the romanticised type fire-breathing dragons. And
Yes.
no, but there might have been some. There got to be a start of it somewhere.
Yes. So anyway, as I was saying, the medallion that she has all around her neck. I think that was I think the vampires, without thinking, knew that she was coming in this movie. When I think about it, I think that I wouldn't be surprised if they somehow, who knows, out there, maybe there was a prediction of her coming, and that could mean they were going to expect her to show up, and that's their way of trying to obtain her in this movie.
You think about it, if she was receiving dreams, wonder if they could have been channeling the dream somehow or other. Interesting.
Well,
Interesting concept,
well,
isn't it?
in this movie,
Yeah.
Constantine mentions to her that the reason she was dreaming so much was that she was dreaming of home, of her father,
Yeah,
all that
you
stuff.
sound like, and there was a bloodline.
Yeah, meaning her blood was telling
Yeah.
her that needs to meet her father. Or
But you think about it, those guys that were going up against Constantine, were some of those the ones he made?
that's a good question.
Now, if he made some of those,
Yeah. Well,
could
then
there
again,
possibly be a link in the bloodline, and they had an idea what was going on
yeah.
with his daughter and
well,
stuff?
he
Yeah.
did say he's the leader, and he technically mentioned it much later in the movie that they said that he was bitten by supposedly other vampires. So who knows? Maybe there are other vampires
Yeah.
around too that could have
But he
created
said
him too.
he tried to resist, but he became one of them and started biting people and stuff so he could survive. So, but yeah, I'm just wondering whether this is like a family revolt.
Maybe.
Was Grigori a son? Yeah, like
Well,
by blood, by transfer of
Yeah,
by
well,
becoming a vampire. Yeah, in a
well, it
funny way.
doesn't mention anything about family. I mean,
No,
it's
it didn't. It doesn't mean that,
it's
but
pretty clear that they mention
with the blood link I'm talking about.
they mention
Yeah.
the blood link stuff, and they mention
Yeah.
that the vampire was a family stuff, but
Yeah.
I don't think they mention any relatable
No.
like family
But
stuff
no,
in
yeah,
it.
but I was wondering how they might have known that
Like-
she was coming.
like-
That's what I'm just saying.
Like
so yeah.
there must have been, even though in this movie it doesn't mention it, but it seems to imply that they were expecting her. Like she's like the like they look like it's like in the Bible where they were expecting Jesus to come and this and he does come eventually, and this is in Catherine's case she was an expected visitor that they're waiting for
Exactly.
to change their lives and stuff like that.
And it happened.
Yeah, and
They all died. That's a big change.
yes, I quite agree. Not to what they're expected when they thought they were gonna make more lines of their vampire cult or whatever.
Yeah, there's gonna be big, what next level stuff. Yeah, a bit like that. What was that one of that? Blade. The black guy. Is it Blade.
Blade,
Blade.
yeah.
Yeah. Now he's a day walker. I don't know his. I can't remember his story, but yeah, they wanted to do that sort of thing. Yeah. So walk by day as well. And look, it's a nice dream.
Agreed. Yeah, didn't pan out too.
Didn't work
either.
out too good for the vampires. No.
Yeah. So anyway, as I was saying, the medallion that she wore a lot, it was sort of was like hinting to the other vampires, I'm different. I am sort of related to him, and everyone knows this.
That's probably.
Yeah, it's sort of like shouting to the world that here I am. I should be.
So I'm just wondering whether someone saw her wearing that and told the vampires she's in town.
Maybe.
That's a possibility.
That's a possibility. I mean, it seems that
They had a lot of helpers.
it seems that vampires, the vampires in this movie, they had helpers in the blood bank or the hospital
Yeah,
to get
yeah.
their blood. And let me see, some
Because
helpers probably in the police, the secret
Yeah, well,
members of the
you look at
police.
the first time when she went to the embassy, when she first got there, that vampire guy was following down the street. So how did he know she was at the embassy unless someone told her?
True,
Now,
true.
did the taxi driver tell everybody she was in town?
Well, she mentioned
Because he did work for the vampires?
yeah, well, she did mention about Paul Alexandria.
Alessandri.
And
Yeah.
he passed the word around, and they probably worked it out that that's one of his aliases, and they wonder what's this woman got to do with him, or what's with Paul. I mean,
Exactly.
yes,
Aha. The plot thickens.
yeah, of course. I'm not sure. Maybe it's just a feeling, but maybe it's just that vampires in this movie never bothered to try to have a kid.
Well, they can't. They got dead seed.
Well, who's to say?
they're dead.
They may be dead, but there might be a chance that they can conceive a child or children. But they just never tested it because I think, I'm dead. What's the point?
I can't answer that. Now, I'm trying to think of something.
I mean, they never sat down and thought of maybe I could conceive with a human. they never bothered to even
But
think about
maybe,
it.
like I said before, because he actually genuine love for her, a bit like Law and Body, something changed in him a bit. And if they just said, "I'm going to have sex with somebody," it possibly wouldn't work because they were doing it out of sex, not out of love.
Yeah, true. And bear in mind
So
that
you need the love aspect, probably like in Warm Bodies.
yeah, true.
Yeah.
But then again, he did.
Yeah.
They probably just were consumed with bloodlust,
Bloodlust
and
and
instead of consumed with, just being with someone, with a human.
finding a mate, having a happy life together, getting a house, getting
Yeah.
a cat. Hey, puss.
Yeah, and the only
Anyway,
thought is,
yeah.
if they did find someone, they either drink them dry or just turn them into a vampire.
Hey, it's almost like marriage. You get somebody interested, and then you suck them dry, just like husband and wife might do to each other, and then they go through a divorce, and they suck them dry more, and
Yeah, wouldn't that
and,
be a
and they got
drag?
nothing left. Yeah.
Wouldn't that be a drag for you?
I know a lot of guys have been sucked dry by their ex-wives and their solicitors and everything. They got nothing left at the end of it.
Yeah, you would say that. Yes.
Not a cent left, you know. They got the bum out of the pants, you know. I don't know.
Yeah, but you never know in this movie. I mean, they know. I mean, maybe they just didn't try to. I mean, they probably didn't even think they wanted to bother with humans. They just saw them as food, and didn't think that vampires and humans could never make kids. Because
Well, there you go then. If they actually took the time to have a look at family life, would they really want kids?
Mike, that's not a good.
Not a good analogy?
No.
No, okay. Well, I thought I'd just throw it in. But
Yeah.
you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, so you guys know, Catherine's mother, I think she said she was an art student, and
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think that when she met her Catherine's father, I think that she was interested in glass blowing, so she probably meets him somewhere, and that grows their relationship.
That did. She was
developed.
artistic. She might have fallen in love with him because he's an artistic man who worked in glass. You know, hey, speaking of glass blowing, we went over to Italy one long time ago, and we went to a glass blowing factory, and it's really interesting, and it's not easy. It's like a lot of skill, and that so. I don't know, it's got nothing to do with the movie, but it's a real talent these guys have got to actually do glass blowing. Whether it's a little factory or a big factory, these guys are real artists.
Quite right.
And he might have been a real artist since he fell in love with him because of his art, his glass art. Yeah.
Well, it is nice,
it's-
creative, art form
Yeah.
when you think
It
about
is
it.
Well, it's painting, acrylics and oils. And you got sculpting, you got woodwork, you got carving,
Yeah.
and you got glass, obviously, and so
Yeah,
there's lots of other different
And glass
arts.
blowing is when you think about it, it's like creating diamonds or crystals out of glass.
If anyone gets a chance, go online on YouTube and see if you can find someone glass blowing. They get a little glob of glass and they make it into a vase or a wine jug or something, or a
Or even
horse or something. You go,
statue.
this is great. It's very talented, and to do it very quickly too.
Yeah, I did like in some of the dream sequences. I like the bits where we don't see we keep seeing the silhouette figure of her father, and we don't see his face. Like his face is covered with a silhouette, with a stocking of sorts to cover the this portion.
Yeah, you're not supposed. Yeah, you keep the face.
Yeah.
It's like a piece of cheesecloth over
Yeah,
there, so you can't see
it
through
covers
it.
most of his nose and his eyes.
only sees the mouth.
And we only just see the mouth part to his face,
Yeah,
mostly.
but actually, we have been going on a bit at the moment.
I just think that's kind of
it-
clever.
it-
It's up to interpretation in this.
I think it's supposed to
in
keep
this-
his identity secret from
Yes.
everybody until later on during the movie. That's
Yeah.
that's a good way to do it. So he didn't know who Daddy is.
Yeah.
So he had a picture of a guy. When she met him, she said, "Well, it can't be him. He's too young." Yeah.
Yeah, and the picture is, it's clearly in the picture. It was Anthony Perkins in the shot, but it was very blurry.
recognised
and
him.
it was.
Yeah.
I don't know if it had anything to do with the fact that it was a bad picture, or just that, as we often point out to each other, that vampires cannot get photographed properly.
Well, that's another point. As an undead, they're not supposed to have a reflection in a mirror. They're not supposed to show up on cameras. How the hell can you get a photograph? I ask you, honestly. I mean, Really? Yeah.
Or
So
maybe this.
yeah, I don't know.
Well, that's
Yeah,
probably what I'm talking about. The maybe the blurred picture of him was hinting that you can never get a good shot of a vampire.
or maybe that's true.
Mm,
But anyway,
in this movie.
irrespective, I think we've exhausted this one. I think we've
Yeah.
done everything.
Yeah. So, what do you rate this movie, Mike?
Like honestly, again, I've said it before. I take everything holistically. I look at the whole package. Now, when you look at the street scenes, the location shoots, everything. It felt like I was in Romania, even though it's in Hungary. Okay, it doesn't matter. Next door to each other, I felt like a crappy city in Europe. Okay, now so the scenery, shots, photography, lighting, all that stuff came in really good. Storyline was quite good. I don't think there's any problem with the storyline at all. And I always like Anthony Perkins when it comes to that sort of quasi sinister, good boy, bad boy sort of thing. And this was an extension of a Norman Batesy sort of thing. Come Dr. Jekyll, Mr. Hyde. Yeah, not quite right, but not necessarily naughty or bad to the core. Had a good side as well. And I think the whole story came along really good. I always seem to be grading things up around nines. Now, that's because we are watching a lot of good movies at the moment. I can't get Sarah to watch a crappy movie with me at the moment, so of course I'm going to grade them all well. Yeah, pretty good.
Yes.
Um,
Yes, and the reason I always grade them to 9 because there's always room for improvement to make it a little bit better.
yeah, I have never seen a movie that. I mean, if you make a mistake in a movie or two, that takes away from a 10 for me. If it's 100% accurate, and I can't find any faults in it. It's like that bit about how the devil know about her being picked up by Secret Service guys. Well, to me, it's a break in the line. There's no explanation for it.
Yeah.
How would you know? So yeah, that's why I'm saying. I'd say for telly movie, this wasn't a mainstream movie. It is what it is. But for a telly movie, I think it was excellent. I'm going to give it a 9.5.
Okay. For me, I guess I would say for costumes, props, good acting skills, and suspension when I look at
Suspense.
suspense in
Yeah.
the story and the storyline
I think
and
it works. It works. It's really good.
and
It's different, but it works.
and actors obviously.
Yeah.
I would probably give it just 9.5 as well.
Yeah.
Too.
Now,
As I said before,
yeah.
there's always room for improvement in films.
Yeah, but this is pretty hot for a telly movie.
Too.
I mean, like I said, if it was made as a serious contender in a commercial vein, I would not have graded it as high. Okay, I would have graded it maybe 8.5 or something to 9. But because it's made for television, I don't know what the budget was. I got no idea. Maybe it's low on budget, but for what it is a good movie, worth a watch. Now, I believe it's still available on Amazon, is it?
Yeah, I found out it's on Amazon.
Yeah, so if you're interested in it, look, if you're not real sure about it, you might be able to have a look on YouTube. It might be there, and if you like it, go and buy a copy. You know, I mean, I can't stress any harder than that. I do collect a lot of old movies which aren't available on anywhere apart from YouTube, so I have to do a torrent download because no one is selling some of the movies, some of the old ones. In that case, yes, by all means, go and get it and save them for future. But if it's available through a retail outlet or Amazon or eBay or anything else, do it legally, buy it, and that'll keep you out of trouble and help support the industry. How's that?
Quite
good?
right.
Yes.
Yes,
Because a lot of independent filmmakers out there and commercial ones need the money.
Yeah, just so you guys know, I've been hearing a lot of stories going around about the film companies and cinemas are closing at the moment, or not closing, just shutting up for now because of the virus.
Coronavirus, yeah.
Yeah, and there's been talk about that sort of thing, and it's a little sad. And while I'm thinking about it, we should all pull together and try our absolute hardest to remember to to keep working hard on our own film projects, even if we
Exactly. Even only writing it and doing things and tweaking stuff and organising it.
Yeah, even just post editing your trailers or working on your next script idea.
Yeah.
That's always good.
Doing a redraft if you have to.
Yeah,
but
that's
if you've got free time at the
yeah.
moment.
If you guys can't get your crew together on your major film project, sit back and try to see about creating a news story.
Be productive.
Yes.
Never give up. Never surrender. Now, that was a line out of a good movie, wasn't it?
Oh yes, and everyone's probably sick of it.
Ghouls Quest, really good movie. No, but we won't do that one.
No, not yet.
We might do it later. It's a sci-fi, but we might get around to it.
Yes, so as we're saying, guys, don't give up hope on this industry. Remember, this is a time for independent filmmakers to open up and try to to find the next source of inspiration.
Exactly right. And some of these movies we review are made by smaller companies who are actually distributing through the bigger guys like Universal and Warner and stuff, but they're actually being made by smaller guys, and you won't know about it necessarily directly. So you got to help the guys down the bottom, otherwise you won't have an industry in the future.
Yeah. So guys, it's not the end. This virus will weed it out as we always do in previous viruses over the years. So we'll probably pull through, and we will probably get our work noticed again.
We'll all survive it. Hold that thought. All you people out there, all you good folk listening to this podcast, you will survive. You might not be able to get any toilet paper anywhere, but you will survive.
Yes, quite right.
I don't know about the other countries, but here in Australia, or at least in Brisbane, we're having a run on toilet paper. Tell me why, I have got no idea.
Yeah.
You can't get toilet paper to save your life.
Yeah.
I'm buying online now because I can't get any from the shop.
Yeah.
This is ridiculous.
Yeah, I think it's a bit weird that no one's thinking about the food.
Yeah. You would think people would be stocking up food. Say, if I buy, 2 or 3 weeks or 4 weeks supply of food, put it in the pantry, keep it there in case I've got to stay home for a couple of weeks. Toilet paper. You need 2 weeks supply of toilet paper.
Yeah,
you don't need 2 months supply of toilet paper. You know, and people are stocking up, and it's ridiculous.
Yeah, well, we can't do anything about them, of course.
Anyway, folks overseas, I don't know what you're going through, but I mean, I gather England is not going real good. Italy's got a lockdown happening, and other places are.
Yeah, and
our prayers go out to everybody who is in those sort of areas. Please be guided by what your government says. Stay home if you have to stay home. Do not go out. Do not spread the virus or risk getting it yourself.
Yeah.
Okay, and we'll get through it over the next couple of months. It'll be gone. But if everyone's got to play by the rules, otherwise it ain't going to go away in a hurry.
Yeah.
Okay, guys, please, because I am one of the older guys, and I've got a good can. If I get it, I'll be very sick, and I don't want to get sick.
Yeah, same here.
I'm 66, and I want to see 67.
Same here.
You're not 67?
No, but I'm
my daughter. Sorry,
in my 30s, and 30-something people have been affected by the virus.
They're usually people who've got cancers or other problems and things that have already got a weakened body, okay? Anyway, this is nothing to do with the podcast, so why don't we sign off now?
Yes. So, guys, don't give up hope and continue with listening to our podcast. So, I'll talk to you guys later on. So, this is our podcast. Till next time. Unpleasant dreams. See you around, guys.